I love spending time with you, man.
Yeah, we should do it sometimes. Yeah. Hey guys, can I play? Sure. Whoa, that sounded so cool. How'd you do that? Hey everyone, I'm Nico, back again to show you how to make some cool sound effects. Do you like science fiction? I love science fiction. Home to some of the coolest sound effects that have ever existed in movies and shows and video games. Some of my favorite sound effects to hear: weapons, specifically firearms, lasers, blasters. But where do you even begin making sounds for weapons that don't exist in real life? To figure this out, let's take a listen to some of our favorite sound effects and see if we can deconstruct the elements that make those sounds up and hopefully recreate it for ourselves. Let's start with the Needler, one of my favorite sound effects from the Halo series. So let's take a listen and see what we hear. All right. So the sounds that I hear, I'm listening for the low frequency, the mid frequency, and the high frequency. If you want to learn more about that, be sure to check out my last video about making punch sound effects. For the low frequencies that I hear in the Needler sound, I hear the kind of cannon fire that you hear in guns and firearms. For the mid frequencies, I hear a kind of chirping noise when the gun is actually firing. And those barely audible high frequencies, I kind of hear a wisping sort of flying sound, like a knife or an arrow going through the air. So now that we've identified the elements of the frequency ranges, we're going to go into Logic and see if we can try recreating those little bass elements and seeing if we can create the Needler. Let's go. First thing we're going to do is hit that low frequency range, which you're going to do by going to soundscrate.com and downloading some semi-automatic firing sounds. I really like the way that Machine Gun Fire 2 sounds, so let's drop that into Logic. The sound is fine as it is, but I feel like we can tweak it a little bit to make it sound more alien. Now, when it comes to audio effects and filters, it's a lot like cooking. You have all these ingredients that you don't know what to do with, but the more that you play around with them and adjust them and combine them, you start to create some sounds that you really, really like. For example, let's take a sound in Logic. Ah! What happens when we turn on the flex speed and stretch it out? How about we put a phaser on it? How about a chorus modulator to add some wiggle? Maybe some distortion. And how about we end it with a little pitch shift? Don't be afraid of your tools. The more that you experiment and become comfortable with your software, the more that you'll learn and you'll be able to create some cool sounds. For now, let's bring up the EQ for our machine gun sound and boost the low frequencies to add a little more punch to it. In addition to that, we're also going to add a chorus modulator effect and increase the rate, intensity, and mix all the way up. Now, this would be a good enough alien weapon on its own, but we're trying to recreate the Needler. So let's try to get that chirp sound, which I'll do by going to SoundsCrate once again, going to the Ambient Sounds library and selecting Birds in Nature track. From there, we're going to isolate a single chirp sound and repeat it throughout our track. Make sure that when you're repeating your chirps that they sync up with the rounds you hear in the semi-automatic track. Look at that, we're already so much closer to the sound that we're looking for, but we're still missing that high frequency element. So what we're going to do is add a whistle sound that we recorded, and much like the chirp track, we're going to individually synchronize it with the rounds from the semi-automatic track. Congratulations, you just recreated a sound effect from a AAA game franchise. But don't limit yourself to recreating somebody else's sound effects. Make your own. Download assets from Production Crate, record your own sounds, play around with synthesizers, and then start manipulating those sounds in the audio software of your choosing. Start layering them and make some really cool sound effects. In fact, I made a couple of original weapon sound effects using those exact same methods. How about we test them out? It's my birthday! Oh, Chris. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were a unicorn.
Why would you shoot me? I thought you were a unicorn. They were here a second ago.
I don't see any unicorns.
They were here, and your hat threw me off.
It hurts so much. Why do we have guns? This is the worst birthday.
Well, if you like the sound effects that you heard, be sure to download them in the description below. If you want to learn more about sound effects, be sure to check out my last video where I show you how to make cool punch sounds and make it awesome.
Oh, it's my birthday.
Chris, you were wearing the hat. You look like a unicorn. I'm sorry.